Alright, in this video, let's talk about nested for loops in Python. You have learned about for loops before, but a nested for loop is like a loop inside another loop. Don't worry, we will break it down step by step and make it super easy to understand. So what is nested for loop? A nested for loop means having one for loop inside another for loop. I repeat, having one for loop inside another for loop. But why do we need a nested for loop? You see, we use nested for loops when we need to perform a repetitive task within another repetitive task. Okay, when we want to perform a repetitive task inside another repetitive task. Okay, so there are two components in nested for loops. One is outer loop and another one is inner loop. Okay, so let's see these nested for loops in action. So first of all, I will first comment this code. And you see we have a for loop for I in range 3. Okay, so if I print I, so what it will do is it will simply it will simply print 1 2 3. Okay, I think it will print 0 1 2. That's because I'm not giving any starting value, so that's why. So it is starting from 0. So I will say 1 comma 4. Okay, so it will actually print 1 2 3. So 4 will not be covered, it will only print up to 4. Okay, not 4. So it will actually print 1 2 3. Okay, so let me just save it and just run it again, and you see 1 2 3. All right, so this is one very simple for loop. So now if I have one more loop inside this outer loop, then that is called nested for loop. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll simply say for j in range 1 comma 5. Okay, for j in range 1 comma 5. Now you see one very important thing you have to notice here. So you can have any number of for loops. Okay, you can have any number of nested for loops for I in range, for j in range, and we also can have for k in range. So that if you want to use nested for loop again, then you have to put for k in range like this. Okay, so it need not to be range, it can be list, it can be dictionary, it can be string or anything. Okay, so the inner loop should be inside the outer loop. Okay, so we are not going to see 3 4 loops. We will only understand the two loops, okay, for I and j. So I cannot be repeated inside another loop, so this is actually iterator. So this one should be unique. Okay, so if you have already used I, you cannot use I again. Okay, you have to use k, you have to use anything. This test can also work, but that's just that's your wish. All right, so here you see this one is outer loop, this one is outer loop, and this one is inner loop. Okay, so the way this nested for loop work is the inner loop finishes all its work before the outer loop moves to the next step. Okay, what I mean by this is, so the responsibility of the inner loop is to loop 4 times. Okay, so the responsibility of inner loop is to loop 4 times. That's because for j in range 1 comma 4, that is you can print j here, and what this will do is it will actually print 1 2 3 4, and after that it will move to the outer loop. Okay, so let's clearly visualize this. So I will say print, I will say I is equal to, okay, I is equal to this I. Okay, I'm printing this one. Okay, I'm printing this one inside a nested, inside the inner loop, and also I'm going to print j is equal to this j here. Okay, now if you save this and let me clear it, if you run this program, what you see here is, you see, you can just notice what is happening here. As I said, the inner loop first finishes all its work before it moves its control to the outer loop. Okay, so the first line of code that is going to be triggered is the outer loop. Okay, now the value of I is 1. Okay, it is starting from 1, right? The value of I is 1, and then that's what it is printing here. Okay, it is I is 1. Okay, and after that the control moves to the inner loop. Now the value of j is 1 in the first loop. Okay, so that's what it is printing here. J is equal to 1. So now I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1. All right, now in the next loop, right? So the next loop it is going to run is the inner loop itself. Okay, not the out. The control will not come here. Okay, the control will still be here because the inner loop first wants to finish its job. Okay, the inner loop's job is to print 1 2 3 4, right? So that's why in the second output you see here, I will still be 1 and the j will become 2. Okay, j will become 2. This j will become 2. Similarly, it wants to print, also it wants to print 3, right? So I is still 1 and j is 3. And after that I is still 1 and j is 4. Now the moment the j becomes 4, right? So the inner loop's job is done, right? So the inner loop's job is done, and then the control will move to the outer loop here. Now the outer loop I will become 2 because it wants to print I, right? It wants to print, the range is 1 comma 4. 1 comma 4 means 1 2 3. So the I will become 2. All right, so that's what you see here. I is 2. After that the control again came here, right? The control again came here for j in range 1 comma 5. Again the inner loops work starts. Okay, so the control will move to the outer loop only when the inner loops work is done. Now the inner loops work is to print 1 2 3 4, right? So that's what you see here. I will still be 2 and j is 1, j is 2, j is 3, j is 4, right? So when it reaches to j is 4, then the control will go to the outer loop. Now in the outer loop you see I has become 3, right? I has become 3, and again it goes to the inner loop, and again the inner loops work starts. The inner loops work is to print 1 2 3 4. You see I will still be 1, I will still be 3, and j will be 1, j will be 2, j will be 3, j will be 4, right? So the inner loop work is done, and I is equal to 3 here. I only wanted to print 1, 1 2 3, right? So the j's work is also done. I mean the inner loops work is also done, and the outer loops work is also done. Then it will exit the code. Okay, I hope you understood this. Okay, so we will again, we will take one more example. The best example to learn the inner loop is to create the multiplication table. Okay, so we will take that example and try to visualize the multiplication table in our output. Okay, so I will for now I will comment this code, and I will just at the output I want to see should be like this. Okay, 1 1 multiplied by 1 is equal to 1, and 1 multiplied by 2 is equal to 2. 1 multiplied by 3 is equal to 3. So we want to actually print this multiplication table. Maybe we will print 1 to 5. Okay, 1 to 5 up to 5 into 10 is equal to 50. Okay, so we will try to do that using the nested for loop. So first thing that we want to do is for I in range for I in range 1 comma 6. Okay, 1 comma 6. So this will always be the outer loop will represent the rows. Okay, outer loop will represent the rows, and the inner loop represents column. All right, so let's say for I mean for j in range 1 comma 10. Okay, Maybe let's let's just make it smaller. So let's say again 6. Okay, j will also be 6, and we want to print something like this. I will just add one f string, and I want this format, right? I multiplied by j. Okay, I multiplied by j is equal to 1. I mean 1 will be this is actually the value, right? So we can use like this. I I star j. Okay, I multiplied by j. Okay, so this one should not end here, so this one should end here. Okay, you see this format. So I multiplied by j is equal to I into j. Okay, so let's print it. Let me clear it and let's try again. And you see, okay, so what it is printing, 1 multiplied by 1, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 5 is 5, right? So one loop is done. Okay, so this is 1, right? So it is actually printing the multiplication table of 1, right? So after that 2 starts. Now 2 multiplied by 1 is equal to 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and you see it is printing 1 2 1 1 1 1 1 and 1 2 3 4 5. Now if you want it to be like 11 and run it, and you see here, right? So inner loop is running 10 times, right? This second one is the inner loop. The inner loop is running 10 times, and the outer loop will still be 1. Once this task is done, then the outer loop starts and inner loop again runs 10 times. Okay, you can also do like this if you want to give a space here. Okay, if you want to give a space or the next line, you can simply use empty print statement. Okay, so this empty print statement should be inside the outer loop, okay, not inside the inner loop. Now if you try and run again, and you see the multiplication table, right? So this is 1 2 3 4 and 5, right? So that's how you use the nested for loops in Python.